All right, welcome to episode 4 of Wicked Friggin' Heavy. I'm sitting here with Jan DRUGGE, who is the frontman of Gasoline Dream. And QUALMS. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, Jan and I also met at High Roller. Jan is a front of house guy, you know, and will come back and vent about his sorrows every once in a while to the back of house. Yeah.
I heard once that people are at their worst when they're out to eat, and that really resonated with me because I think it's fucking true. I think you are never worse than you are when you are sitting at a restaurant, no matter what the occasion is.
Yeah, I think so too. I've seen people, friends, relatives who have become absolute monsters as soon as we walk through that door ready to get something to eat. It just happens. I don't know what it is.
Especially at brunch. Don't even get me fucking
hunger.
started.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about food. We're here to talk about Jan's music. So before this, I was looking at his discography, and he's got 3 EPs out on Bandcamp with Gasoline Dream and 2 EPs out with QUALMS.
It's like 20 minutes of music in total between both bands, but it is, you know, I think by definition a discography at this point, yeah.
It is. So who started first? Like which band?
Gasoline Dream started first.
Gasoline Dream started first. And how did that happen?
Nick had a bunch of riffs that him and Seth had done, our drummer, in the basement. They were kind of looking for a singer for it for a little while, and they were trying to do something like Left 4 Dead, kind of early Cursed, any of the Colahan bands, and Nick is a master riffsman, and the songs were killer, so it was a pretty easy sell on my part. You know, I hadn't been in a band in like over 10 years, but it was, I don't know, it was a pretty easy sell. Those riffs are cool. So then we picked up Matt and Dan. Matt has been in a million bands, Combatant. He's in Beers Brosnan right now with Nick and Andrew. A million bands, and then Nick has been in a million killer bands too, but Nick and Dan were in this D-beat band Facade with Ben Cole down in New Hampshire. That was a fucking burner too. They were all so good. So all of those dudes had been in bands that I liked already, so it was, you know, humbling when they reached out and wanted me to sing, so it was an honor for sure.
Yeah. How did they hear of you?
Nick and I had been friends for a long time, and I think he was like, "You're fucking miserable. You would be perfect for this," and it worked out.
Must be a good outlet.
It's nice to
some
share,
extent,
you know.
right?
It's nice to sort of let people into that world, that side of you a little bit. Yeah, I guess it's helped in that way, but otherwise, it's probably made it worse.
It's probably made it worse, you think? So, Gasoline Dream started with those guys reaching out to you because they came up with some riffs. So did they come up with like full songs or just ideas that they were ready to have a vocalist start something over? Or
I would say Nick and Seth had the majority of that first EP like completely dialed and ready to go, and then we just put bass and second guitar and vocals over it, and we didn't even really fuck with it that much. Like, they pretty much had that ready to go, you know, one in the chamber. And then everything we subsequently wrote has definitely been more of a, you know, cumulative process.
So then you fleshed out lyrics, and then I guess it became clearer to you the more that you rehearsed or performed, right? Were there ever any points during performances where you're like, you know what, I actually don't like this phrase, I'm going to change it to this? Or
not for that one. Because we were practicing and recording for probably almost 6 months before we played a show. So there was plenty of time to really like work everything out and just sort of finalize everything. There are a few things that I've sort of switched around for the other 2 records since recording. but not too much.
Yeah, everybody's process is different. It's interesting.
It's definitely not a testament to like me liking the lyrics that much as it is like me being like, it's out there, this is what the song sounds like.
This is it. Yeah, so you're just going to roll with it.
There's no going back from here.
Yeah, we've recorded it, and there we go.
Yep.
We're moving on.
That's the song.
That's super important, man. Yeah, honestly. It's so easy to get stuck in like the whole mindset of like, oh man, well this could be better, and then it's like never ending.
If there's like things that you think are dumb or like whatever, like I guess sure change it, but like who fucking cares, man?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I don't think I've said anything like so dumb or damning that I've needed to like go back and like change it. You'll hear shit where it's like, man, I could have said that better. I could have like done this there, like whatever. But if you get caught up in that, you're never gonna write new songs. You know,
Yeah.
It's just kind of like as soon as that record comes out, that's sort of how it stays, and I just kind of wash my hands of it and move forward. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Who came up with the coined phrase "bummer music"?
I think that's Nick. It's pretty accurate. Yeah, we were self-described as music for shoplifting from Hannaford for a while. I don't know if that's still up there.
I love that. So that kind of bummer. So not like, man, this is a real bummer, because it didn't sound like that to me. It's more of bummer as in like stealing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's also like, I think every member of that band struggles heavily with anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And I think it's a pretty ugly sounding band, you know, and I think that's sort of where a lot of that kind of goes, you know. So I think Nick calling it, you know, bummer music is pretty accurate, because it's not necessarily meant to like make you happy.
Yeah.
You know. But if it does, like, more power to you. I don't fucking know.
So the new EP that just dropped a few days ago.
Yep.
It'll Probably Kill Us is what that's called. You can find that on Bandcamp. Check it out. It's sweet. I was listening to it these last couple of days. Tell us a little bit about that.
This is sort of like a continuation of a new era for Gasoline Dream, where everyone is very busy and has other bands or multiple other bands or kids or businesses or whatever. So we are much less active than we were like a year and a half ago, a couple of years ago, but we're still writing, you know, pretty consistently. We took a break for probably, I don't know, like 4 or 5 months from practicing in the wintertime. And then I had a bunch of shit going on with QUALMS, and basically in that time the Gas Dream boys had like recorded demos for an entire new EP, and it sounded so fucking good. And it's definitely a shift, and I like that it's a shift. There's kind of more of like a snapcasey sort of like, I don't know, like New Jersey vibe to it, that I don't think was really there in the last few. And it's a little more melodic. There's like a few kind of like cheesy 90s metalcore parts in there too. And it's definitely kind of a departure from the first two in both process and the way that it kind of came out.
How so?
I think it was a lot more hands-on, practicing every week, writing everything together for the first, well, I get the second EP. This one felt more like a studio band, you know, where it was like, here are the songs, you know, and someone would send me this, or someone would send me, you know, this, and I would write to that, and then come in a few weeks later and try and figure it out. And it was a little bit like Herding Cats, and that's kind of where the name came from too, you know.
Yeah, like
I
feel that so much, man.
It almost killed Gasoline Dream, you know. But now that it's out, I think we're all really stoked about it, and I think it sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah, the end of the process sometimes is just like, oh man, I feel like I'm gonna lose my fingernails, you know.
It's
like,
yeah.
You know, like vibe, like
well, and you know, it's like
my eyes are falling out of my head, you know, like.
You love all these people, and you respect their opinion, and you want everyone to be happy, you know, with the final result. You want everyone to get what they want. And I think at the end of the day, there will always be compromises that are, you know, made when you have 5 members in a band. You know, it's like, I don't think you can't please everyone all the time. You know?
Oh no, definitely not.
And I think this one sort of became a lesson in how to do that.
Yeah. How to compromise.
How to get everyone what they need out of it, how to make sure that everyone's happy with the result, you know, and I think that everyone walked away pretty satisfied, which is good enough for me, you know.
Let's talk about Qualms now. How did that start?
Qualms is a different beast, you know. Qualms?
Yeah.
Everyone in Qualms has been friends since at least 2008, if not earlier. And not just like, you know, sort of like acquaintances or like loose friends, like homies that have hung out consistently despite living across the country for like 15 years. And it's funny that all of us sort of did our respective instruments and had never really thought to do something together. And I think there was a bit of just sort of stagnancy with the other projects, and everyone was kind of chilling, and we wanted to just, you know, create something different than what all of us were doing. And I think it happened really organically. I think Mike is just like a fucking wizard on guitar. I love what he writes, and I think everything just kind of fell into place with that band where everyone is happy with it. The songs are really personal because all of us have been friends for so long, and it's cool. It feels good. It's sort of it's taken on its own sort of I don't know what you would call it, but
Yeah, it just kind of takes its own shape. But
sort of a being of its own. It's its own entity at this point.
And when you're friends with people first and then start a band, I feel like that's a different kind of vibe altogether. If you guys were already hanging out beforehand, right, and then you just start playing music, like, ooh, there we go, like
for decades. Like, I cannot stress enough like how painfully close all of us were before we started this band. So that's
its own beast. 100%.
It's touchy, you know. It was like, I think a lot of us were maybe skeptical to make music together because we are such close friends and
because
we didn't want to fuck it
so
up.
Well.
Yeah. But it's been over a year, and I think it's surprisingly just brought everyone closer. So I like that too, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you feel like a lot of times the music flows easier with Qualms and you have less compromises that have to be made because of how close you all were before you started the band, or is it the opposite?
I think a lot of it has more to do with a 4-piece versus a 5-piece.
Yeah.
Where I think, you know, both have their pros and cons, sure, but I think with a 4-piece, everyone just sort of like brings what they have to the table and is like, this is what I have, you know. And I think with a 5-piece, it gets a little more convoluted. You know, I think you can do cooler shit, but I also think there's more margin for disagreement, you know. And I think with Qualms, there is a certain touchy element where everyone has been friends for so long, and you know, you love each other, and everyone loves each other, so it is a little touchier. Like, I think, you know, in one band I can be like, I fucking hate this, and everyone will be like, all right, you know, and then in the other one I have to be like, why don't we try this, you know, and like, both are successful approaches for, you know, each band, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Sure.
The Qualm stuff is Mike is a psycho, and like Mike will, before even bringing us riffs, a lot of the time just like agonize over these songs for like weeks before he even brings like a first draft to the table. So it's like most of the time he'll play something that's like, can't argue with that, you know, like that's fucking tight. Where I think Gasoline Dream, we have like riffs and sort of stems that we piece together, you know, collectively. Qualms just sort of happens.
Yeah.
You know, that's like the best way to describe it, I think. Jesse will write riffs. They listen to me if I'm like, hey, what if we try this? So Qualms is a very collaborative effort, and it feels like everyone has put all of themselves into all those songs, because even me as a vocalist like has like a say at the table, you know.
Yeah.
So those songs are really personal.
Does it work where it's like you've got like a bunch of seed ideas in Qualms?
Sometimes we'll be like, that part and that part, what if we tried to put both those parts in the same song? Because, you know, there are times where, you know, Mike will come to you with a song that's actually like 3 songs. And you're like, oh, perfect, that's 3 songs. Just divide that into thirds and there we go, you know. But it's getting a lot kind of dronier, a lot more like screamo-y, a lot more like kind of Nola crust, you know, like there's that sort of line that I think we're walking between like D-beat and Nola crust that has been really satisfying, and I like kind of the direction that one's been going for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, on your Bandcamp, I love the album covers, by the way.
Dude, that's Hector.
Great art that you have there.
Hector Magana.
Hector Magana?
Oh my God. Check out his Instagram.
What is he? Is he like a photographer?
He is a photographer. And all around wonderful guy, but he is my favorite photographer in town. And
so does he design those for you? Like,
no, he just sent us a bunch of photos of various things that he had kind of shot about a year ago, and just kind of gave us carte blanche, and we, you know, do whatever with them and try and credit him as heavily as possible, because we love his work and it's an honor to work with him, you know. It feels very cool and local and collaborative, you know.
Yeah, that's great.
No, I've done the graphic design for all the Qualm stuff, much to my chagrin, but I thought it's come out fine, so whatever.
No, it has come out, and it's come out great.
It's all Hector's photography. It's not my graphic design, I promise.
Heard, chef. Yeah, so you have 2 EPs, and you're described on your Bandcamp as main spiritual violence.
Yes.
I love that.
Sort of upon inception, I think lyrically, Qualms was meant to be an angrier sounding positive outlet, like for me. And my plan was to write sort of like Revolution Summer, like lungfishy kind of lyrics for it. And that was sort of the like spiritual violence, where it was like sort of power violence stuff with like maybe Rev Summer lyrics. And then that didn't happen, and I just wrote like even angrier, more miserable lyrics than I do for the other band. So I think it is spiritual violence still, but definitely not in the way that it was conceived to be.
Like back on my bullshit, even deeper into the hate, you know?
It was supposed to be like an exercise in like positivity at first, and
and Jan's
it's
like,
not.
I'm not gonna do that.
It's not. I tried. I really did. Like there are some things in that first record that are me trying to like really tap into like a positive place, and it still just sounds fucking miserable. So most of it's self-hatred, you know. Like I try not to get too preachy on like malice, you know, if possible. Like I think there's enough of that. There's plenty of that, you know.
Plenty of malice in the world.
Yeah, and in sort of heavy music, especially in Maine, like I think it's just there's enough of that, and it's a lot broader, you know, as well. Like I've tried to turn it outwards, and whenever I do, I make sure that it's as broad as humanly possible, because again, like I'm here to do a lot of things, but I'm not here to preach malice, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Why do you think heavy music is important to you?
I don't know. I feel like I have 2 very differing philosophies as like someone who was a listener and not a like musician for close to 15 years, you know.
Yeah, what got you into it?
I mean, as a kid, you know, it was just something to do. Like, I think, you know, a lot of people my age sort of got into this in, like, the swoop hair, you know, early aughts, like, scenester days. Like, I certainly fucking did. And I think that was a gateway for a lot of people my age to get into whatever the fuck you wound up ultimately getting into. And I think it's great, but I also think I saw so much shit in hardcore and heavy music that turned me off that I ultimately like didn't listen to it for fucking years.
Like what?
it just got like nobody's fucking perfect, man, but it just got very like crewy and violent and homophobic and misogynistic and just like shitty, and it just sort of became a thing that like I didn't really feel like associating myself with, and I think a lot of people sort of felt this like mass exodus
away from it. Interesting.
Absolutely, you know, and that's why I think, you know, everyone focuses on like the resurgence of hardcore, but I don't think anyone thinks about why the fuck people walked away from it in the first
Why
place.
it died.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know?
Jan. Okay.
And that's like, you know, it's
Okay,
great that
this
it's
is like-
back.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think there's like all of these things that are like, oh my God, it's more inclusive now, and it's great. And that is true, and that's great. But like, I think if you were to talk to like any woman in the scene, I have a feeling they would probably have a few things to say about how inclusive it ultimately is at this point. I don't know. I am someone who's in like 2 quote-unquote hardcore bands that like secretly hates hardcore.
Are not about the hardcore scene.
In a lot of ways. I'm not like a core kid like through and through. I suppose I feel this dichotomy every day where I secretly think like hardcore shouldn't be the most safe thing. I think that should be like indiscriminate for who it's like unsafe for. But I also think like if you're going to live in a fringe subculture, like you should exist in a fringe subculture, you know? And I think that like...
Explain more like with that.
I think there are things about punk rock and hardcore that are inherently dangerous. Whether it be the venue or the fucking people on stage or the guy out front or whatever, you know, and that's sort of like par for the course for subculture and counterculture, you know, is something that makes it like a little bit sketchy. And I'm not saying that I want it to be sketchy for anyone in particular by any means, but I just think like gatekeeping is good sometimes.
Yeah.
I really do feel that way.
So when you say treat it like it's a fringe subculture, since it is, what do you mean by that?
I mean, look at other places in the fringe of society, whether it's the dish pit or the fucking biker bar or whatever, you know, like if you're going to exist on the fringe of society, it shouldn't be something that is like cushy and like safe.
Yeah.
You know, like it should be the fringe of society. It should be what it is.
I see what you're saying.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think that should be indiscriminate. Do not get me wrong. Like, I do think, like, keep hardcore dangerous for everyone.
Like you said before when I was asking, you know, do you have anything that you'd like to say? You said you don't really have a mission statement, you know, but the fact that you're part of a hardcore band now, even though you hate what has happened to the scene, right, makes me think that you're, you know, like you're trying to not be like those other people before you, you know?
My Spotify Wrapped every year is so funny to me, and I like never share it, but it's like there's nothing fucking heavy on there in the slightest, man.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't even know what it was last year, but it was like all like Dave Berman and like Silver Jews stuff, and like I don't fucking know, but like it was not hardcore, you know? Like I'm not a dude that sits around and like listens to hardcore all day. Like
So-
I don't. It's boring. Like I love hardcore. I don't fucking listen to hardcore all day.
So you make it because it's an emotional outlet then.
My ex-wife summed it up really well when I was talking to her pretty recently, as she generally does. Shouts out Elle. But I was like, I don't really know how I feel about making music anymore. Like, I'm kind of on the fence. And she just looked at me and she was like, what else are you going to do? And that's sort of it, you know? It's like, well, what the fuck else am I going to do? You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Hell yeah.
And it was
Amen
very
to that.
succinct, but it landed, you know? And I think about that pretty often, you know? And Roseman said something to me the other day that it's been ringing in my brain as well. Where he was like, you know, we're talking about music and making music, and he was like, if you're not making it for you, you're making it for nobody. And that definitely resonated with me, where I was like, well, I guess maybe I am still, you know, making music for a reason. I don't fucking know most days what that reason is, but there's obviously a reason, you know?
Yeah. The thing that strikes me about heavy music is that it's powerful, you know, like in a way where it makes people get up and get ready for something in a way. And I feel like with all of the shit going on in the world right now, that is kind of what we need. Something that gets people to wake up, get out of bed every day, you know?
Absolutely.
Get things going. Let's go. Like, come on, you know? And I think that that's why it's beautiful. Not just hardcore, but any of like these heavier genres in general, you know?
Totally. I think, like, at its best, heavy music is like just another facet of the macabre, you know? Like, I think it's just right up there with like horror movies and whatever other, you know, weirdo, like dark, creepy shit that you're into, you know. I think at its best, I think that's sort of the role that heavy music plays for me. I think what's beautiful about it as well, though, is that, you know, it can be anything to anyone, you know. And
absolutely, like any kind of music can, you know, awaken some feeling inside of you, whatever that is. It's personal to the individual person, you know.
Absolutely. To me, at least, it is just like a venture into, you know, the macabre, into the darkness of sort of mankind and the world. But for other people in other sects of different genres, you know, like, I don't fucking know. It means a million different things, but that's
right.
Sort of what it is to me, you know.
Yeah.
I love, you know, that it can be something that is like politically charged. I don't think that we need a bunch of political punk bands now that we're in another Republican administration. The worst of them all, don't get me wrong, but like,
I'll cut that out.
Fucking, you know, Republican president, you get a bunch of political punk bands, and then
do you see that as a pattern? Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
and then they all shut the fuck up when it's like a little bit to the left. It's horrifying. Like, dude, I remember in the Bush years, they had the, like, Fat Mike did that Rock Against Bush comp, and it was great, you know, like, don't get me wrong, like, everyone was on board, raised a bunch of money, you know, Michael Moore did Fahrenheit 9/11, like, great, you know, it was like, It was a beautiful thing. And then everyone shut the fuck up for 8 years, you know, and it's like, I want to see that energy all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to see that shit just like when things aren't going well. And that shit drives me nuts. It's important. Do I think that hardcore is like an important like political tool? No. Like, I think that's like old guy punk ethos at this point. I don't know, man. I'm sort of in the camp that I don't think music is going to change anything for anyone ever again at this point. You know, I think we're beyond music changing the world as a society.
Beyond all of that, you think? Why would music be important then? I guess for people to individually process their own emotions.
I just mean, you know, I've been having to explain to a lot of people why I fucking hate the Beatles recently.
Yeah.
But I also am going to be the first to say that, like, you know, a musical call to, like, mobilize and get in the streets isn't going to fucking work anymore. Like, we're beyond that, which sucks. Like, I wish that there was, like, a band that could put out something that was like, hell yeah, and everyone would be like, you know what, they're fucking right. Let's go do something about it. That's never going to happen again.
Right.
You know, I don't think music has that power anymore. I think it's been stripped of that power over the years.
Why is that, do you think?
I mean, I think any sort of art that is designed to radicalize anyone is suppressed to begin with, you know. I don't think anyone's going to put a record out that's going to, like, alter the course of human history ever again.
Again?
I don't think so. Like,
you think that's it? Have there been any albums that revolutionize your life?
There are definitely plenty of records that have definitely changed me. You know?
What were those two that you were thinking of originally?
I would say the Bronx one, self-titled. They're all self-titled, but the first one, absolutely blew my mind when I was like 13.
Yeah.
I thought that hardcore and punk had to be like stylish because that was the era of like scenesters. And so there was like something stylistically missing for me, stopping me from getting into like Poison Idea or like anything that was like fucking really good. So I heard the Bronx, and they were like cool guys, but they were making this music that was like insane, and it's just like so fast and so crushing and so fun. And that was sort of my like gateway, I think at like 13, into like hardcore punk, and that like made me realize like it is cool to do shit like that. It's in fact it's very, very cool. And then the older I got, when I was like in high school, I got into the Suicide File, and both those Suicide File records, sort of the same thing, where I was like, oh, hardcore kids can make punk, and it can be cool. Like, oh, you can make political music, but it's not fucking corny.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah, for sure.
Those records like absolutely changed my life, and like kind of, I don't know, cemented me as someone who is like a rocker through and through. You know, like I love guitar solos, I love fucking single note piano hits, like I have an AC/DC tattoo, like I'm a fucking rocker through and through. But like you can do that shit and not be corny, and that's why I think like the Suicide File in the Bronx like really showed me that at a young age, and that sort of carried on.
Yeah. All right, man. I think we're gonna wrap it up here.
Yeah, shout out to everyone in both bands that lets me make music with them and puts up with me. All of them are lovely people, and I would die for each and every one of them. New Qualms stuff down the pipeline. There'll be another demo or split in the fall. We haven't worked that out yet.
Hell yeah. Thank you very much, Jan. Can't wait for the new stuff. Who do you think would win in a fight? Miles Davis or Sid Vicious?
Miles Davis, all fucking day, dude. Dude, Miles
I
Davis
agree
would
100%,
fucking
actually
drag that poser bitch up and down the street,
Ruin
dude.
him, man.
Are you fucking kidding me? Like, no contest, no question. I do admittedly secretly love the Sex Pistols. Cut that out. Edit that out.